In New York City, there was a man named Leon. He lived a very quiet and careful life. The city was big and full of noise. But Leon was like a shadow in it. He was hard to notice. He lived in a small, simple apartment in an old building. His life was the same every day. Every morning, Leon would wake up. He would do exercises to keep his body strong. Then he would drink a glass of milk. He had one special thing in his apartment. A small potted plant. He took care of it every day. It was important to him. The plant was a sign of a normal, simple life. But Leon did not know much about a normal life. Leon had a job. He was what some people call a cleaner. This means he was a professional killer. But he was not like a crazy killer in movies. He was more like a technician. He did his job with skill and no emotion. He got his jobs from one man. This man was named Tony. Tony owned a small Italian restaurant. The restaurant was always empty. Tony would give Leon a name and a photo. Leon would find the person and do his job. Then he would get his money from Tony. Leon did not talk much. He did not trust people. He walked through the city like he was not really there. He always wore a pair of round sunglasses. People could not see his eyes. In the same building lived another family. This family was very different from Leon. They were loud and chaotic. The father did bad things. He kept illegal drugs for some police officers who were corrupt. Their home was always tense. There was shouting. There was neglect. The TV was always on, making noise. The youngest in this family was a girl named Matilda. She was 12 years old. Her life had not been easy. She did not have a real childhood. She dressed like a boy. She wore a choker necklace that made her look tough. Her eyes showed she understood too much for her age. They showed pain. Matilda often sat alone on the cold stairs of the building. She would smoke cigarettes she had taken. She looked at the world with a distant, cynical look. Sometimes, she and Leon would pass each other in the hall or on the stairs. Sometimes, she would say a soft hello. Leon might grunt or just nod. But in these small moments, two very lonely people shared a quiet connection. They did not say it, but it was there. One normal afternoon, everything changed. Matilda had gone to the store. When she came back and got close to her apartment door, she heard terrible sounds from inside. She heard violence. She heard panic. She froze. She looked through the small opening of the door. She saw her whole family being killed by a group of men. The man leading them was tall and strangely calm. His name was Norman Stansfield. Stansfield was an agent with the Drug Enforcement Administration. But he was a bad agent. He was corrupt and had lost his mind. He had a strange habit of saying lines from Beethoven's music. He could become very violent very suddenly. The killing happened because a batch of drugs was missing. Stansfield had given the drugs to Matilda's father to keep safe. Matilda was so scared she could not move. But she made herself walk past her own apartment door. Her face was full of shock. The killers were still inside. Her only chance was the door at the end of the hall. That was Leon's door. Tears ran quietly down her face. She stood in front of Leon's door. She knocked. It was a soft, desperate sound. Time seemed to stop, just as Stansfield's men started to come out of her apartment. Leon's door opened a little bit. He saw the terror in her eyes. He could probably see the blood on the floor behind her. In 1 second, he made a decision. It went against all his rules to stay safe. He unlocked the door. He pulled her inside. He pulled her into the dark, simple safety of his home. Now, Leon's perfectly isolated world was broken. A traumatized, emotional child was in his safe place. At first, he was very annoyed and worried. He wanted her to leave. She was a problem. She was a weakness. He told her she could stay only for 1 night. But Matilda was not a normal child. The shock turned into a cold, hard resolve. She sat on his sofa. She saw a news report. It said her family was dead. It said she was missing. She looked right at Leon. She made a shocking, serious offer. She had seen his special case. She had guessed his job. She wanted him to teach her to be a cleaner. Her reason was simple and strong: revenge. She wanted to kill Stansfield. He had killed her 4-year-old brother. Her brother was the only person in her family she really loved. Leon said no. Of course he said no. It was a crazy idea. But Matilda did not give up. She offered to work for him. She would clean his apartment. She would buy his food. She would wash his clothes. In return, he would teach her. She showed a strong will to live. She also showed a scary capacity for darkness. Leon was tired. Maybe he saw in her something of his own lost, hard self. He reluctantly agreed to a trial period. A new, very unusual routine started. He made strict rules. She would do chores. She would do physical training. She would learn about his trade. He taught her about rifles. He showed her how to put them together, take them apart, and care for them. He trained her to watch people using binoculars from his window. He told her the most important rule: no killing. He tried to put order into her chaos. Matilda, in turn, brought life into his stagnant world. She made him play silly dress-up games. She forced him to wear a funny hat. She found out he could not read or write. She started to teach him, with patience and encouragement. She took care of his plant with more tenderness than he ever had. They started a daily habit of drinking milk together. A deep, complex bond grew between them. For Matilda, Leon became the strong, quiet protector she never had. For Leon, Matilda woke up feelings that had been asleep for a long time. Feelings of protectiveness, companionship. She gave him a reason to live beyond his next job. Their relationship was a mix of teacher and student, guardian and child. Two lost souls found a fragile family in each other. But Matilda's desire for revenge was too strong. Lessons and chores could not contain it. One day, feeling impatient and angry, she took a big risk. She disguised herself. She went to the public library to find information about DEA agents. Then she boldly walked into the local DEA office building. Her goal was to find Stansfield. She watched and listened carefully. She learned his full name and where his office was. But her bold move had a consequence. Stansfield was told about a suspicious girl asking questions. His obsession began. He now knew the witness was alive and active. He started a focused, ruthless search to find and remove this problem. The threat to Leon and Matilda changed. It was no longer just possible. It became immediate and very serious. Leon realized the safe little world he had built with Matilda was falling apart. The professional part of him understood Stansfield. Stansfield had many resources and was unstable. He would not stop until he found them. Leon made a two-part plan. He would secure Matilda's future, and he would remove the threat. He went to see Tony, but not for a job. He went to give new instructions. He told Tony that all the money he had saved with him, his entire life savings, was to be given to the girl if anything happened to him. It was his final act of taking care of her. Then, he took a more aggressive step. He followed Stansfield to a restaurant Stansfield liked. He confronted him in the bathroom. Leon did not make direct threats, but he made his position completely clear. He used his intimidating presence and vague warnings. He communicated that Matilda was under his protection. He said that harming her would lead to terrible consequences. This confrontation was a declaration of war. The final fight was inevitable. It came to Leon's apartment building with great force. Stansfield used his official power. He brought a large team of heavily armed, corrupt police officers. They turned the old apartment building into a war zone. What happened next was a lesson in uneven combat. Leon knew the building very well. He had great skills. He became a one-man army. He used tricks to distract the enemy. He moved through walls using ventilation ducts. He set traps. He took out the attacking team members one by one with terrifying precision. The building was filled with the sounds of gunfire and explosions. There were shouts of confusion and panic. Leon fought with a fierceness and creativity he never needed for a simple job. He was no longer just a cleaner. He was a guardian, defending his home and the person in his care. In the middle of the chaos, his main goal was still to get Matilda to safety. He showed her a hidden escape route. It was a shaft in the bathroom that led to the building's main air duct. He gave her his most precious thing, the potted plant. He told her to take care of it. He gave her Tony's address and a place to meet him later. It was a final lie of hope, to make her go. Tears streaming down her face, Matilda crawled into the dark duct. She held the plant tightly. She left Leon alone to face the enemies coming for him. After making sure she escaped, Leon prepared to leave too. He overpowered a surviving officer. He took the officer's uniform and gear. He disguised himself as a wounded member of the team. Limping, and helped by another agent, he moved through the destruction toward the front entrance. He was moving toward freedom. He was only a few steps away from the bright sunlight of the street. He was close to a chance to find Matilda and start a new life. But Stansfield was clever and observant. He had been watching. He recognized the way Leon walked. He recognized his posture. Stansfield came out from the shadows. He called to Leon. He put the barrel of his gun against the back of Leon's head. With a twisted smile, he said his final, mocking words. He said he had something from Matilda. In his last moment, Leon's hand moved with a subtle, practiced speed. He slipped a small metal object into Stansfield's free hand. It was the pin from a live grenade. Leon had hidden the grenade under the stolen uniform. As Stansfield pulled the trigger, a look of peaceful acceptance came over Leon's face. Then the explosion came. It consumed them both in one final, violent moment. After it was over, Matilda was numb and heartbroken. She found her way to Tony's restaurant. Tony followed Leon's wishes. But he did it with cold practicality. He gave her the money. He told her bluntly to forget everything and go back to school. Her dream of becoming a cleaner died right there. Following the last part of Leon's instructions, she went to the boarding school where she was registered. She walked past the school buildings to a wide, green field. Under the open sky, she knelt down. She dug a small hole in the rich earth. Carefully, she took Leon's plant out of its pot. She placed its roots into the ground. She covered them with soil. She patted the earth gently around the stem. As she watered the plant, she spoke softly. Her words were a private promise to the man who had saved her in every way. She promised to study. She promised to grow up. Healthy plant finally in the ground. It was no longer drifting in a pot. It was permanently rooted. It stood as a living memory in a peaceful place. It meant the end of constant violence. It meant the beginning of a new life. That new life was bought at the highest price. It was paid by a professional who, in the end, had learned how to live.